Welcome back everyone to podcast 2, and thank you for joining us in Rescued from Debt, a story of how Dave paid off £15,000 debt. Dave, we're so grateful you've taken the time to share your experience. Your story is already making an impact, and I know it'll resonate deeply with anyone facing similar challenges.
The pleasure's mine. I'm truly honored to be here and share what I've learned along the way.
Dave, one of our listeners sent in a powerful question I'd love to pass on to you. They asked, did you ever feel ashamed or frustrated when talking about your debt?
Honestly, yes, especially at the beginning. Debt felt heavy, and opening up about it made me feel exposed. And that raises a difficult but important question for me. Why should anyone feel shame for speaking about debt? But through CAP, I realized I wasn't alone. Talking about it became part of the healing. And now, I'm proud to share my journey in hopes it helps someone else feel less alone. I believe we need more openness and better services that treat people with dignity. No one should have to fear judgment simply for reaching out. That shame can keep people silent, and that silence keeps them stuck. My life turned around when I contacted CAP. Today, I've stepped onto the property ladder with a mortgage which seems impossible back in 2019. I'm genuinely happy, and it all started with having the courage to ask for help. So, let's shift the narrative. Debt doesn't define us. Let's talk about the lessons it teaches, the growth that follows, and how seeking help can truly set you free.
Dave, in our last podcast, you shared that you first reached out to Christians Against Poverty, CAP, on a Monday back in July 2019. Can you walk us through what that phone call was like? What happened when you spoke to them for the first time?
Before I made that call on Monday morning, I got myself ready. I gathered bank statements of my credit cards and overdrafts, just in case they asked about the amounts I owed. I even jotted down my household expenses, trying to be as prepared as possible. Then I dialed 0800 32 80006. A kind woman answered the phone, her voice calm and reassuring. She asked what had prompted me to reach out to CAP. I shared my situation honestly, that I was overwhelmed by debt and needed help becoming debt-free. She listened without judgment and asked where I was calling from so that she could check their system for a local CAP debt coach. She explained how their home visit process worked and told me the name of the coach who would be coming to see me. I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Simply, I would say I felt hope. That conversation was the beginning of change.
Thanks so much for your support so far. I've been wondering, why does CAP send debt coaches to visit you at home?
Thankfully, my appointment was confirmed for the following Tuesday at 10:30 a.m., just a week away. That timing was perfect. I didn't want to wait around or risk second-guessing myself. I was ready to start the journey right away, to move forward and begin reclaiming control over my finances. No delays, but just action. It felt like the momentum was finally shifting. So going back to your question, I think it's because they understand how overwhelming debt can feel, and they want to meet you where you're most comfortable. That home visit isn't just about paperwork, it's about dignity. It's about sitting down with someone who genuinely cares, who listens without judgment, and who helps you take that first real step toward freedom. It's personal. It's reassuring. And for many of us, it's the first time we felt truly seen in the middle of our financial struggles. Another reason CAP arranges for debt coaches to visit you at home is to truly understand your household situation. That first meeting isn't just about numbers, it's about connection. If you have a partner, they'll sit down with both of you to hear your story together. They'll review your individual finances, talk through the impact debt is having on your daily life, and even take note of how many people live in your home, including your children and their ages. It's about building a complete picture and seeing the human side of the struggle. Because debt doesn't just affect bank accounts, I believe, it affects families. And CAP believes every household deserves tailored support, grounded in compassion.
Thinking back to that first home visit, do you remember the kinds of questions the debt coach asked you and your partner? What stood out to you in that moment?
Looking back now, I remember the kinds of questions our debt coach asked during that first home visit. They weren't just ticking boxes, but they were trying to understand us. They asked about our income, our spending, and the debts we were facing. But they also wanted to know how it was affecting our day-to-day life, how we were coping emotionally, how it was impacting our relationship, and what support we had around us. They spoke with both me and my partner, making sure we both felt heard. They asked about our children, their ages, and how many people lived in our home. It was clear they weren't just looking at numbers, they were looking at the whole picture. It was the first time someone genuinely wanted to understand what debt was doing to our family, and how they could help us find a way out. That first home visit meant everything to us. The debt coach came with compassion and purpose. They wanted to understand our employment situation, our income, and why my partner was at home caring for our young child. We provided payslips, benefit details, and opened up about our challenges. It felt like a safe space, to be honest. When council tax reduction came up, we weren't sure if we qualified. They said we're going to discuss that at the end of the meeting and that based on our household income we're eligible. What stayed with me wasn't just the advice, it was the way the debt coach made us feel heard. They were patient, compassionate, and incredibly thorough, and that gave me a sense of hope that I needed.
Looking back on that first home visit, what else did the debt coach help you understand or explore? Was there any other guidance or support offered that day?
The debt coach came prepared with a printed spreadsheet titled Income and Expenditure Form, which was structured into 4 key steps, along with a section to note how many adults and children lived in my household. Step 1 captured my household income, whether weekly or monthly, including take-home pay, other sources of income, and any benefits I'm receiving. Step 2 focused on my expenses, covering everything from mortgage, rent, council tax, utilities, and food, to transport costs, insurance, clothing, phone bills, and even arrears like overdue rent or council tax. After going through each item, we worked out my total monthly expenditure together. Step 3 was about working out what I could realistically offer my creditors. That meant subtracting my total outgoings from my income to find what's left, and this figure became the pro rata offer. Step 4 involved listing all my creditors and arrears in a tabular form, giving a clear overview of my outstanding debts. In summary, the debt coach completed the steps applicable to my individual household financial situation, and the information gathered will then be used for creating a CAP debt management plan for my household.
Dave, can you tell us, how did CAP determine the right solution for your situation?
Sure. After the first visit, the debt coach explained that all the details they'd collected would be sent to CAP's operations center. From there, the client setup team would analyze everything and create a tailored repayment plan. They looked at my household income, any assets I had, the total amount of debt, and my personal circumstances. Once that assessment was done, the coach got back in touch to schedule a second visit to share with us the debt repayment plan.
What happened during the second home visit?
The debt coach visits with a personalized debt repayment plan and answer any further questions a client might have. They ensured I understand all options before making a decision.
So, what happened next? Did you make a decision?
Yes, I did. The plan CAP laid out was clear and easy to follow. I was to make one monthly payment of £495 into my CAP plan. Out of that, £81 would go into a CAP savings account, a pot that was ours to use for any family expenses. We were assigned a unique 6-digit CAP reference number for all communications, which made things smooth and personal. CAP then took the lead, negotiating with my creditors to agree on monthly repayments and freeze any interest charges. That part wasn't easy, but they handled it brilliantly. I made my first payment in August 2019, and by September, CAP sent me my first statement. It showed exactly where each payment went, how it was distributed to creditors, and confirmed that the repayment offers had been accepted. Originally, the repayment plan was meant to last 3 years and 6 months. But with discipline and support, I cleared my debts in just 29 months. I'll never forget the final letter from CAP, and the card congratulating us on being debt-free. It was a turning point for my whole family.
What impact does the debt management plan had on your credit score?
Great question. Understanding the credit impact is key before choosing any debt solution. Debt management plan may lower my score initially due to reduced payments and can improve over time if payments are consistent. Can I be very honest? I wasn't worried about my credit score as I was drowning in debt anyway and needed a way out to get my life financially back.
Tell me, Dave, did you feel supported during your journey with CAP?
Absolutely. CAP's client team was always just a phone call away. Anytime I had a question or received a letter from a creditor, I'd simply send it over to CAP. They'd handle it directly, so I didn't have to worry. In June 2021, I had my annual review, something CAP does each year to update my circumstances and make sure everything is accurate. It's a requirement by the Financial Conduct Authority. But for me, it was a reassuring checkpoint to stay on track. Every month, CAP sent me a clear, detailed statement showing my progress. I could see my debt reducing, and by August 2021, my remaining balance was just under £7,200. Those statements even reminded me I had savings I could access for urgent expenses. The support wasn't just helpful, it was life-changing. I genuinely can't fault the experience we had with CAP.
When did you pay off your debt, Dave?
Right after Christmas in December 2021, my partner and I made a big decision. We chose to settle our remaining debt early, well ahead of the original 3.5-year plan. Even though my credit score had taken a hit, I'd done my research and learned that becoming debt-free and maintaining good financial habits for 2 years could really boost our chances of qualifying for credit again, especially with mortgage lenders. We used all of our savings, including the funds CAP had been saving for us, and by January 2022, we'd cleared every debt. That feeling of relief was indescribable. From February, my credit score began climbing, and by March 2023, I was even approved for a new credit card. We kept saving diligently each month, especially into our Help to Buy ISA. Then in late 2023, we started exploring mortgage options, even with that old credit default lingering. I reached out to a broker in Birmingham, and by October 2023, we found a lender ready to offer us a mortgage with a 15% deposit. It was a huge milestone for us.
This sounds really interesting, Dave. What happened next?
It was honestly one of the most exciting chapters of our lives. We got the agreement in principle almost immediately, and from October 2023, we got straight into house hunting. The process really showed us the power of cutting back on spending and being laser-focused when you've got a big goal, like buying a home. We skipped holidays, stayed local during school breaks, and stayed disciplined. Our kids were incredibly supportive through it all. By the end of October 2024, we had the keys in our hands. That moment, it was just incredible. Looking back, our journey with CAP didn't just help us climb out of debt, it gave us the tools and support to build a future. Big credit to the CAP team. If you're listening right now and facing debt that feels impossible, I urge you, take a moment, pause this podcast, and call CAP on their 0800 number. Help is there, and I'm living proof that you can turn things around. Thanks for being part of this story, and I hope it inspires you or someone you care about.
Dave, thank you so much for sharing your story on how you've paid off £15,000 in debt, began saving for a house deposit, and has now proudly purchased a home where you live with your family. Your honesty and insight will no doubt resonate with many out there who feel overwhelmed by debt. I truly hope your journey inspires others to take that first step towards reclaiming their financial future. Help is out there, and you've shown what's possible when you reach for it. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you. Until next time, take care and stay inspired. I'm introducing Alison free online courses, and if you're ready to learn for free, tap the link in the description to start exploring Alison's courses and unlock your learning journey today. Remember, call CAP today on 0800 328 0006 or 0127 476 0720. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to stay informed and be the first to get a notification of our upcoming tutorials, tips, and educational insights.